Hey guys, it's Catherine Burgess, and I am here to give you my final presentation. And the topic that I'm going to talk to you a little bit about today is how the internet influences our major life decisions in our current recession. And I'm going to talk to you about the trials and tribulations of one of my really close neighbors has been facing over the last few years. So I hope you guys enjoy and that this presentation opens your eyes to the harsh realities of our world today. As we all know, times are very tough right now, and a recession not only dwindles the funds in a pocketbook, but it also eats away at the heart and emotions of people. When faced with a stagnant or shrinking economy, people are unsure of what to do and consequently withdraw from the general populace and focus solely on their own needs and wants. The effects of the Great Recession run deep in our American culture. A Pew Research poll published last month indicated that more than half of all adults in the U.S. labor force had experienced some work-related hardship. This hardship is defined as a period of unemployment, a pay cut, a reduction in work hours, or an involuntary move to part-time employment. This was all since the recession began in December of 2007. The report also states that 20% of Americans saw their household income decrease by 25%. The recession hits particularly close to home with me. This picture shows my neighbor Harold, his wife, and their young daughter. This picture is somewhat false. They look seemingly happy and they're living out the American dream. However, Harold lies among the 20% of Americans who felt their household income sharply decrease. He made his own startup company right out of college and was very successful. The impact of the recession on Harold's family is deep, widespread, and grim. His family was once able to bask in the glory of millions of dollars, but they no longer have that luxury. Harold was unsure where to turn for advice during his time of distress. For fear of worrying his wife, he kept the unsettling news to himself for as long as possible. People are beginning to turn to the internet to answer their questions and concerns with the economy. A Pew Research poll states that 69% of all American adults, fully 88% of American internet users, have gone online to get help with personal economic issues that have arisen in the recession and to gather information about the origins and solutions to national economic problems. Harold followed suit and dug around the internet for some viable solutions to his overwhelming problems. The Pew article goes on to state that the internet ranks high among sources of information and advice that people are seeking during hard times, especially when it comes to their personal finances and jobs. Among broadband users, the internet is the top source for material on personal coping strategies during the recession. At the same time, broadcast media outpaced the internet as sources of news about national economic affairs. Internet users are on a dual quest in this recession. They are gaining practical knowledge of how to survive and trying to figure out what went wrong. As you can see in this graph here, our current recession has experienced a greater number of jobs lost than any other recessions in the last 20 years. This is felt nationwide and also at home with me and my neighbor Harold. For Harold, the internet has served as an outlet and a way to cope with the horrible realities of the recession. He lies among the 52% of Americans who have either lost their jobs, seen their investments fall by more than one-half their value, suffered a pay cut, watched their house lose half its value, or lost their job outright since the recession began. Since he experienced all of these hardships, he eventually had to tell his wife. In an effort to shield their young child, they tried to lead as normal a life as possible. However, the day came when they had to foreclose on their house. The foreclosure was a long and drawn-out process. While they were going through the steps of foreclosure, Harold knew he needed to provide a stable place for his children to live. According to a Pew Research poll, 22% of internet users found a new place to live with the help of the internet. Harold needed to find his family a cheap and affordable place to reside for the times being and resorted to the internet to do so. Since their life had always been so luxurious, he wasn't sure where to start to find an affordable place to live. The internet aided his search to open his eyes to places he had never dreamt of living in. But when times are tough, extreme measures need to be taken. He used various websites to learn about the foreclosure process and find a new home to rent until they could reestablish their family's finances. As you can see here, the number of foreclosed properties have also been on the rise in the United States. At the height of the recession, almost 800,000 homes were being foreclosed on. Luckily, this number has gone down and people are starting to see a new light at the end of the tunnel. The Pew Research article also found that those with considerable experience online, those who had been online at least 3 years, were more likely to turn to the internet when they were facing a major moment. And they were most likely to report that the material they had found online played a serious role in their decision. This is further evidence from my research that the longer someone has been online, the more likely that person is to use the internet as a tool for serious research and important life decisions. Since Harold's background was in computer science, it was only natural for him to place so much emphasis on the internet to help pull him through the tough times he and his family were burdened with. Another struggle Harold was faced with was finding a new line of employment. High-tech jobs were far and few between during the peak of the recession, and that was all he knew. Harold was among the 41% of American online economic users that sought information on what jobs may be available, according to a Pew Research poll. After many long and agonizing weeks, he was able to land a part-time job that barely paid minimum wage. He knew this wouldn't provide enough income for the family and took to the internet again. Like 27% of other online economic users that Pew Research polled, Harold went online hunting for tips about ways to earn more money or exploring the prospects of getting a second job. While going through all these major life decisions and changes, Harold relied on social media to vent his frustrations. Pew Internet and the American Life Project found that 34% of online economic users have contributed their own reactions and ideas about the recession on the internet. Their contributions include activities on social network sites such as Twitter and Facebook. Sometimes it was easier for him to write out his frustrations rather than vocalize them. Either way, he was able to get everything out that he had been bottling up inside himself. Faced with all this angst, Americans withdrew from social situations and face-to-face communication and relied on the internet to help offer some sort of guidance and get them through the recession. Harold is currently working on putting the pieces of his life back together. It's not easy, but he knows he needs to do it to better his family and his life that he once had. Even with all the hardships Harold has faced throughout the recession, he remains thankful for what he does have. A family, now a roof over his head, and he still clings to a little bit of his dignity. He keeps himself going by knowing that the end of each day pushes him farther from his dark past and closer to a brighter future. And with each sunrise comes a new beginning, which is what people are seeking from the internet during this recession. And lastly, I have all of my photo credits here. And all of my articles that I researched in order to make this presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed this and it leaves you with a little bit of insight into what families are facing in this day and age. Thank you.